Welcome to the Power of the Truth podcast. Today I interview Shazia Ali. Now, Shazia is a really incredible human being. She grew up in the north of England. She didn't have an easy start in life. Things weren't easy for her family. She experienced a lot of racism in school from a young age, and they didn't have a lot of money growing up. But what her parents taught her was integrity and hard graft, and that absolute desire to want to help and support others. And she's now on a mission to support the underdog, and you can't help but fall in love with her. I really hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed speaking to her. She's a really, really special person. It is 35 degrees in the UK at the moment, so I am hot, but we still managed to get through the conversation even with fans on and things in the background. So hopefully the sound is good for you. And I'm sorry I've had a few weeks off. I've been on holiday, but I've got lots of lovely new guests coming for you over the next few weeks. So please subscribe if you enjoy listening to the podcast, and I really hope you enjoy this episode. Okay, welcome to the Power of the Truth podcast, Shazia Ali. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. For the benefit of my lovely listeners, could you please tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
I am a lawyer. I've been practicing law since 2001, and I'm a mother. I'm a business owner. I'm a wife, and everything else that comes with all those aspects of life: mother, wife, sister, daughter, business owner, and CEO of Scarsdale Solicitors.
Amazing. And so you said you've been a lawyer since 2001. Have you always had your own business, or has that been?
No. So I studied at the University of Northumbria. I was called to the bar. So there's different ways that lawyers can qualify to go do the bar vocational course, or they can do a legal practice course. Back then, those were the two titles. So I went and did the bar vocational course, and I did the bar vocational back in 2000 and 2001. And then after that, immediately after finishing university, the bar vocational course, I started applying for jobs immediately after. And within 3 weeks, I landed my first role. I've just been practicing criminal law since religiously. Scarsdale Solicitors has been running since 2015, I think. And we have now grown to a fantastic small business, and we are growing every day, thankfully.
Amazing. So tell me more about Scarsdale Solicitors. Who do you support and what do you actually do? Tell me more about that.
So we specialise in motoring law, and we also do criminal law. And effectively what we do is we listen to everyone that comes towards us who has an issue, has a problem. Maybe it could be a driving offence, or it could be a violent disorder in a public place, or being present at the wrong place at the wrong time. We just listen to what their issues are, decide if we can help them, and if we can help them, we will support them through the process, and attend call, take their instructions, draft any negotiations, liaise with the prosecution, defend them in court, in a trial, whether it be at the magistrate's court or the Crown Court.
Wow, that sounds heavy.
It is.
I can imagine. So what kind of cases do you take on that matter to you personally? If the perfect job was to come through the door and it would be one that you would really want to get your teeth into, what would that be?
I love every aspect of my job, I have to be honest, because we do help a lot of people. People find themselves in, for example, if you're driving and you accumulate a number of speeding tickets over one journey home, for example, you wouldn't realise at the time you're driving home, you're just trying to get home to your children, that because of the level of driving, because you're slightly over the speed limit, you are now at risk of losing your licence. And for most people, it's like losing an arm, unfortunately. It jeopardizes their livelihood, the income. They may well be the breadwinner of their family. They may be supporting a 94-year-old mother that's bedridden. I don't know. But I like to get involved at a doorstep of proceedings in order to help them and shape the direction of the case. And it's such a huge achievement when we are successful in court. because it has a huge impact on not just them, but their entire family.
So I guess what you're kind of saying really is that you look at the human element of the incident as much as the facts.
Absolutely. I say this quite a lot, but it's more than a transaction for me. Yes, we run a business, but I will only take on work if I can confidently help the client. And that they're the only cases that I'm actively engaged on, is how can I help? What can I do to get them the best result they can possibly achieve under the circumstances involved?
And I think you're quite unusual, certainly in terms of what we expect a lawyer or a solicitor to be in terms of approachability. I know you've said when we had our little chat before this that people often think lawyers and solicitors are terrifying and are very intimidated, but actually you're the absolute opposite of that, aren't you?
Absolutely. I love talking to people. I love getting to know people. I am the kind of person that will go into Waitrose, M&S, Tesco's, Asda's, and I'll talk to everyone that comes. If I can help anyone, I will definitely help. It can be something so small as helping someone in the queue behind me in a festival queue, or it's just generally the way I am and the way I've raised my children. Where you can help, volunteer your services, always try and help to the best of your ability. So yeah, there are some solicitors that you might feel intimidated by, but honestly, we're all there just to help as best as we possibly can. And people shouldn't be made to feel intimidated by the process. I've had a meeting today and the word intimidation has been used several times because that's how people feel when they go to court. They're surrounded by lawyers, they're surrounded by clerks in court, they're surrounded by court ushers wearing a gown, and they're like, what do we do? How do we manage this? What is the best way to deal with this? And some people actually, they plead guilty to an offence which they're not guilty of because they're so scared of the environment that they're in. And my job is to make sure that they're not doing that. My job is to help give them the tools and all the information necessary to help them make an informed decision and walk them through the process. What can I do to help you and make it better and easier for you?
It's really interesting, isn't it, how people have these kind of knee-jerk reactions when they're in fight or flight mode.
Absolutely.
It's so interesting. I'm quite intrigued by the law system in general in terms of the truth, because I always think it must be really hard for a solicitor or a lawyer or a barrister in the instance where someone walks through your door and their energy isn't great, and I wonder what happens in those instances, how you cope professionally when there might be an instance where someone's asking you to defend them or represent them when you know that they are guilty. How do you manage that?
Well, I'm a strong believer in not judging anybody. Okay, so if somebody comes in with, as you described, like bad energy, I want to listen to them and try and help them. Just most clients just want to be heard. So if you take the time to listen, that energy will definitely change during the course of that meeting. I have so many conversations on a daily basis, and the conversation can start with a little bit of hostility because someone's frightened, they're in a situation, they may well have ADHD or autism or even signs of schizophrenia, but they start this conversation like, oh my God, and they're trying to get everything off their chest, speaking so fast. And you don't know, and from an independent perspective, that energy can be misinterpreted as hostility or bad energy, but it's not. It's just somebody frightened, intimidated by the process, doesn't know what to do. And if you allow them to speak and get it all off their chest, then ask them the questions, that will relieve a lot of stress for them. But the lawyers are renowned for not listening and interrupting. And unfortunately, lawyers have this reputation of wanting to be the loudest in the room. But that doesn't make you a good lawyer. A good lawyer is based on listening to the client, taking instructions, trying to relieve some anxiety from them, taking that stress upon yourself, and away from the client. And now, complete transparency, you're not going to ever take all the anxiety away from a client from the first meeting. But if you walk them through the process and you explain everything, and we have business owners too, like local people that are like Uber drivers, taxi drivers, but then we have huge business owners that have hundreds and hundreds of staff, and they are just as frightened. They are just as frightened from the situation as people that are working as taxi drivers. We treat everybody equally and we make sure that everybody is heard. And we don't care what they do professionally. They are feeling frightened in a situation, and our job is to help relieve that discomfort to some extent. And if I start a meeting and I manage to do that towards the end of the meeting, that's a huge win for me, because it's not necessarily that this client will instruct us, but at least they're armed with the tools to go and make an informed decision or work with someone perhaps that is more how can I put it, but somebody that meets their budget means.
Yeah, it's
You
more
know,
suitable. Yeah.
absolutely. So, we may not be the right fit for everybody, but I can definitely confidently say that myself and all my team, we listen to the clients and we try and do the best for them. That's all we ever want to do, ethically and morally.
Yeah, that's amazing, Shazia. It really is. And I think it's a real talent, actually, to have those listening skills, first of all, but also to be able to see past whatever it is that comes in that first instance. Because, like you say, people are defensive, they're scared, they're in fight or flight. And actually, to have the ability to diffuse them so that they feel safe and able to share what they need to share is really important. But I'm interested to know, what is it about you and your background and your upbringing, do you think, that's given you that level of compassion and approachability and that willingness to help others?
I guess being raised in the environment that I was, the 70s, 80s, it wasn't the most pleasant way to grow up in. There's lots of racism. And we went through a lot of that in primary school, on the way to school, on the way back. And at that time, I was thinking, okay, I wish somebody would help us. I wish somebody would like stop. And it's just those little things that shape the direction. You don't realize at the time these are the foundation blocks as to why I want to do what I want to do. And myself and all my siblings were all the same, and we didn't realize until the last decade or so that, good gosh, we all have that skill set that we really want to go out of our way and help as many people as we can. And it's a nice purpose to have, the bigger purpose beyond ourselves, to be able to support other people. It may just be helping someone across the road. We do it every single day, not just in work. We do it every day of our lives. My husband is identical as well. And I'm hoping that we're a positive influence on each other, but he does the exact same. And my children, my son, I was on a train back with him from London. I wanted to spend the day with him. And I was doing another show in central London on Tuesday, and we caught a train together. But I noticed little things about him, and I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Just little things like helping a lady with a bag, volunteering to share a taxi with another lady that was going to the same area that we live in. He's like, well, we're going the same way, we'll share the taxi. Little things like that. So really helpful. And it was amazing to see that he's only 16 and he's already got that skill set. And he's obviously saw my husband and I see and do the exact same. And he does it every day. He doesn't go through a door like most teenagers do and doesn't think about someone behind. He'll keep the door open for them. That all my children have that skill. They try and help to the best of their ability.
Yeah, mine are the same. And I think it is learned behaviour that my husband's always cutting the neighbour's lawn, the old lady across the road, or,
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah, those kind of things. And I do think they watch. There was a time once, I remember, when same old lady across the road, it snowed and she couldn't get out of her drive. So me and my younger son went and dug her out so she could get her car out. Those kind of things. But you're right. And I do think some of that is that community element. And I know you're up north in the UK, and I'm from Huddersfield, and I'm sure it's the same wherever you're from, really, if you're from a small place. But it was always encouraged to keep an eye out for your neighbours, especially like you say, when you're growing up in the 70s and 80s, it was a
Yeah.
different time, wasn't it? Everybody knew their neighbours and
They did, and they'd go into each other's houses, and it was just that there was so much more of a community sense. Nowadays, everybody seems so much more involved in their own personal life, and if they're not, they're on their phones most of the time. You can go to restaurants, you can see people sat around the dinner table, and they're all on their phones.
yeah.
There's very little conversation taking place, and it's crazy that you and I are having this conversation because I met the most fantastic people on the train back. And I hope they actually listen to this podcast because they made an amazing journey for me. It was 2.5 hours back from London, and it's the fastest journey I've ever had from London. I met a dentist on the train, and then there was a doctor from Great Ormond Street Hospital. Then there was another doctor. They were talking about the fact that nowadays everybody's so involved in themselves and they don't speak on the trains, and this lady was talking about how it is in Singapore. Everybody doesn't talk to one another. It's like a really quiet journey. It's a quiet environment. They don't socialize much. And she was like, this is an amazing journey for me because we've talked all the way through. We ended up sharing a taxi with this lady, one of the ladies that I met on the train. And honestly, she was a beautiful person, but it would have been a quite a lengthy journey. And these people just taking the time to get to know one another and in fact sharing numbers with one another. It was a nice place to be because it just shows that if you're open to the universe always gives back what you give. If you are genuinely interested in other people, they will be interested in you.
Agreed. Do you know, I actually, it's funny again, we should be having this conversation because I actually met one of my best friends on a train
Yeah.
when I was pregnant with my eldest son. You know how when you catch a train in London, you know where the doors stop,
Yes.
on the platform. And because I was so heavily pregnant, I knew where the doors stops at Old Street because I wanted to make sure I got a seat. And there was this other woman who was also pregnant, and she used to stand in the same spot as me, and we used to get the same train. And every day we'd get on the train and she'd go, "Oh, there's only one seat, you have it." And I'd be like, "No, no, no, you have it." She'd be like, "No, no." And so we'd end up having these hilarious exchanges every single day. And then we realized we got off at the same stop and our babies were due really close together. And we ended up being absolute best friends. And I can't imagine what my life would be like if I hadn't met her. And that was all through meeting on a train. So,
I
and my husband and I talk to everyone anyway.
I think that yeah, I think that's what my husband and I are like. We more so me than my husband, but yeah, I love to get to know everyone, and I think that authenticity. If you have that, you'll be a brilliant lawyer. If
Yeah.
you are seeing each relationship, well, how can I build on this relationship? When you have that authenticity in relationships, then you will be successful. Not everybody is happy with lawyers, but not everybody's going to get a positive result, unfortunately. It depends on the bench on the day, it depends on what is said and done, but we just try and make that journey as smooth as possible and try and support them throughout. And sometimes, even if they're not successful at the outcome, they're so happy that we supported them throughout the journey that they're grateful at the end, even if they've not got a positive result.
Yeah, well, they feel supported, and especially
Absolutely.
I can really see the benefit of presenting the human side of
Yeah.
the case because things happen. People have accidents, and sometimes it's because there's something going on that's outside of their control. You never know what's going on with people, do you?
Absolutely. You
Um,
don't know the background, and I say that all the time.
I know, and actually that leads me very nicely on to something that we talked about when we first met, which was when you used to go to the food banks, and I think you still do actually, don't you? So tell us a little bit
I've
about that.
I've I've not been recently, but I still stay in touch with the vicar at the Unitarian Chapel. He's absolutely amazing. So the food banks we used to go. So when I started with Scarsdale Solicitors, every Monday I'd go to the food bank between 10 and 2. And sometimes I drag my children on summer holidays, and I did that religiously for such a long period of time. And it was great to be there because you were meeting different people from different backgrounds, and they were all struggling to feed their children, feed themselves. There were lots of housing issues, there were lots of clothing issues. You'd be surprised at how many people have come in and they weren't even in a position to put shoes on their children. So it was sad to see, but I wanted my children to see, look, there are different areas of life and you'll meet different people in life and always treat everybody equally.
And you used to
Real
have a
estate.
clinic, didn't you? Sorry, you used to have a clinic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we did. I did a law clinic at these. Initially, I did a law clinic prior to the food bank, but then I'd run a law clinic at the food bank as well, and I'd give direction and advice and support to these individuals. But as well as that, I would work with the Women's Welfare Association every Wednesday, where I'd make myself available throughout the day for women that were struggling with domestic violence. And I'd just give them free advice and support and just direct them, okay, this is what you need to do, and this is how you need to do it. Not everybody has the means to pay for legal support. And sometimes, due to circumstances beyond themselves, they're not in a position to apply for legal aid. So, you know, a lot of people don't know that you can actually do this yourself. You don't need a lawyer. If you're at risk of harm coming your way, you can get an emergency injunction in the courts on the same day. And it doesn't have to be with notice to the other party. It can be without notice so that you can actually be protected. And I'd spend every Wednesday giving advice to these women that felt that concern for their safety. Unfortunately, COVID happened February 2020. That's the start of it. And I was one of the people that was told to isolate, I think, for 3 months. I can't remember specifics, but I was told, due to my vulnerabilities at the time, I was told that I need to isolate quite quickly and not be available. So then I transitioned what I was doing in the law firm onto being online. So I still conducted my meetings, but I was conducting my business online, and I carried on doing that.
I can't imagine how many people you must have helped during that time. I just think it's so amazing, and I don't think many people would do it. I think you're a really incredible person. I
Oh,
think
thank
it's
you.
it's so
But so are
amazing.
you with Fran, so are you. You and I had this conversation, and the stories you shared with me, you've helped so many as well.
Well, we all have to do our own bit in whatever way we
Absolutely.
can, don't we? So, just to talk to you about being a business owner and what that looks like for you, do you feel that what is the truth about running a successful business? What does that mean to you? What does it give you?
The truth about being a successful business owner is resilience, having the confidence, and being a great problem solver. In order to be a fantastic lawyer, you really need to be a fantastic problem solver. And that's what makes a good business owner, as far as I'm aware. Um, the satisfaction I get is I have a fantastic team. And some people just come in early, they don't even need to be here. But my team are so dedicated to their job. I love that. Today I've told them, look, leave early, don't stay, it's too hard to work. And I can assure you, even though I'm having this conversation right now, at come 5 o'clock, they finish at 5:30, most of the team, but I know come 5 o'clock they'll still be sat downstairs, and I've told everybody to leave at 5. But that's how committed they are to the job. And it's because they love the job they do, they're passionate. So if you can create the right culture in any office, you will be successful. And behind any successful business owner is the right team. Without the right team, like you say, no one woman or one man built an army. There's no way you will be successful unless you have the right team and the right foundations. And I've been very fortunate that over the years I've found the best team I could potentially have at this moment in my life, in my career. You have to see the business more than a transaction. If you chase money and you're chasing money all the time, you're not going to be successful, because the team will see that and they realize they're not interested in my career, my development, what I can do, what I can offer. They're just interested in how much money they can make and how much money they can take home. And if that's the case, you will not be a successful business owner with the right team.
And do you feel like owning your own business gives you a better quality of life for your family in terms of having control to be able to be flexible for your children, or does it get a bit overwhelming sometimes?
It is overwhelming. Like, if I would be misleading you if I said to you that there's not one day that a problem doesn't occur. And unfortunately, I can be on the way home and I will be getting phone calls via Bluetooth, of course. I'll be getting phone calls and like, oh, this has happened, this is an emergency, this is in for tomorrow. I can be called late at night for an emergency hearing. The following morning, people get arrested all the time. There's always a problem to be solved in a criminal law defence firm. There are always issues occurring every day. And yes, I wish I could say I've got the right balance. I haven't yet. I'd love to say that I am there for my children. I'm always there, doing the school run, pick up, drop off. I've done it throughout primary school. They're in high school now, and thankfully they can catch a school bus. But up until recently, I was the one doing the school drop-offs in the morning. I still do the school pickups, but I was the one doing all the assemblies, doing all the meetings that required parents' evening. I still do them, and I will always do them because I won't compromise that as a mom just for the sake of my business. There has to be a balance, but I say that on the weekends, I'm taking calls throughout the weekend. I'm taking calls throughout the evening. I do, I do work every hour God sends, because in order to have a successful business, you have to put in the hours. It is a hard graft. You have to put in the hours. Any successful business owner will say that they have spent a lot of time dedicated, 60, 70-hour weeks just to make it work. Until you have an MD appointed and you can delegate the responsibilities, you'll never really have that real balance. But I try and achieve that to the best of my ability, and it works for me at the moment. I've just restarted going running, going Pilates, walking. Well, I walk every day anyway, but alongside that, I started Pilates 3 times a week, 4 times a week sometimes, and then I restarted running again. And this is after many, many years. I didn't have the flexibility of doing that previously. I've created the time, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, I will get up and go for a run before my day kickstarts, before the children are up and ready to go to school. So you make time and you find what works for you. What works for me is I need to make time for myself, and I'm doing that at the moment, but I still don't have the right balance.
You are a grafter though, aren't you?
I am. I can't imagine not working hard. So as much as I'd love to say I can appoint a managing director here and I can step away, I can assure you I do be doing something. I may set up a completely different business. I may, buy another business, or I may just stay here and do what I love the most, helping other people. But I cannot imagine me not working, because I always set myself goals, targets, and I like to achieve, not just for myself, because it's a reward as a team. If we win an accolade, if we've been nominated for an award, wow, it's a huge achievement, not just for me, it's for the team. I'm hoping that we'll set up this pro bono department, which will allow the public to come in, and the private work will fund the pro bono work, so we can help more people within the community get the right support they need without going through the means test. Legal aid, you have to be means tested and you have to contribute towards the cost. I'd like to be in a position where I can actually take on work and not have to worry about charging the client. But we're not quite there yet. We will get there, but that's the 5-year goal.
So you're going to be a legal angel, that's what you're telling me.
I've not seen it like that, but yes, it sounds amazing. There's always a bigger purpose, and when you realize if you're serving more than just yourself, honestly, it's such an amazing place to be when you're helping other people, when you're making a difference. We all want to leave a legacy behind us, every single one of us, and my legacy was how I changed so many people's lives and what difference I made to people. And if I can be remembered in a certain way, I love that.
I always get the feeling from you. We've only spoken twice, but I just get the feeling from you. You always feel like you're not doing enough. And I'm
not.
I mean,
there's so much more we can all do, honestly. Honestly, there's so many hours in a day. I can assure you we can all do more.
I know.
There's so much more out there that we can do as a team, universally. We can all get together and do way more than we're currently doing. And, somebody knocked on my door and said, you know what, Shazia, I'd like you to be involved in this project. I would probably grab it in both hands, as long as I've got the capacity to do so. But I'd love to be an advocate for something that serves a bigger universal purpose than just what I do. I think there's a meaning for everybody's life. There is, and I'd like to ensure that I get there sooner rather than later. Not with a Zimmer frame running around saying, oh, I want to help this person, but I'd like to do whilst I'm fit and healthy, and I'd like to make more of a difference than I currently am doing.
It really takes some drive, doesn't it? Where do you think that comes from within you? Just that absolute drive to help other people. It's obviously something you maybe learned from your parents?
It's amazing.
Oh,
I actually was on another interview and I broke down during that interview because I was speaking about my mom, and honestly, she is the best. She's getting old right now, but she is a big helper. She's the kind of person that will rescue pigeons if they're not flying. She'll grab them, bring them home, nurture them, and nurse them back to health, and then let them go. My father was the same. He was the kind of person that all the neighbours would knock on and say, "Oh, our car battery's flat. Have you got the battery? I've forgotten what they
the
called.
jump lead.
Jump
Yeah.
leads, yes." And back then in the 70s and 80s, he was the go-to. Still recognised. Everybody that talks to him talks about him in the local community, and he was always that person that you could rely on. The neighbour next door. There's always that one in the area. He
Yeah.
was that person.
So it is learned behavior, isn't it?
I definitely, because my parents were like that. My children are like that.
Yeah.
And they're learning that from my husband and I. I can only imagine they've inherited that from their parents, my grandparents. But there is more to life than just take. And I'm sure we've all been there. We just, taking and grabbing every opportunity that life gives us. But when you see past that, honestly, there's so much more we can do in our lives.
So what would you say to someone who's got a problem and they're too scared to address it? It might be, I don't know, debt. It might be that they're in an abusive relationship, or that they've got some kind of thing hanging over them they've been ignoring. Like what's the first bit of advice that you would give someone in that scenario?
Pick up the phone and speak to someone.
Mm.
Is the first thing I would do. Whoever it is, it could be a friend, it could be a neighbour, it could be a helpline. If you're heard, you've lightened yourself a little bit, you've relieved some stress. When you share something, it relieves a burden from you, and that person can give you some advice and signpost you to what you need to do. Pick up the phone. You can pick up the phone to me, I'll make the time. And I will make the time to listen, whatever it is. Like, there's always a solution to every problem. It's just finding that solution and getting the right support. Now, I'm not an expert in every industry, but I certainly know that I can signpost people to the right people, just irrespective of what they're going through, especially women from domestic violence. I'd love to help as many women and men as possible that are undergoing, and it's not just women. We all think it's just women that go through domestic violence. It's absolutely not. I've had lots of male clients going through the same thing. Pick up the phone and speak to someone.
I think for men, in some respects, it's even worse because there's this pride element, isn't there?
Absolutely.
They're even less likely to come forward. I mean, I was actually on one of the previous episodes, I was chatting to the lovely Chris Coulter, who sadly lost his daughter to suicide. And he was telling me the statistics for suicide versus men versus women. And so many more men take their own life because they've got no one to talk to and they don't know how to talk. Whereas women are much more likely to pick up the phone and share how they're feeling with someone. Yeah.
We're big sharers. Not most women are big sharers but they have the right support. And I think the most important thing is to make sure that you're heard.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone and speak to a helpline if you need to. Pick up the phone and speak to a friend, a neighbour, speak to somebody, because you never know. That one action can lead to a different outcome. And I'm a big believer, if you take the action, the universe will give you what you need. Honestly, take that step. If you take that first step, it'll be a game changer for you. Nothing comes to those that way. Nothing comes to those people that hide themselves off. And if you take a small action, a very small one, don't take huge actions. Not everybody's ready for that. Not everybody's geared up for that. That one action can lead to multiple actions, and you don't have to take all those multiple. It's other people that will support you in that. So anybody that's listening to this, feeling vulnerable, feeling suicidal, feeling there's no way out, just pick up the phone, speak to someone, speak to whoever, call me. I'm not a helpline, but I promise you, if you need my support, I will help us to the best of my ability. But you have to turn to someone in order to get the right support.
Yeah. So if someone did want to give you a call or wanted to find you, how would they do that?
So we've got www.scarsdalesolicitors.com. So we are online. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You can call our offices 01706 531 827. You can call the Garden Office mobile 07852 877 774. But you can email us whatever you feel comfortable in, but just reach out and see what we can do. If we can't help you, we will signpost you to someone or somewhere that can help.
I just think the work you're doing is so inspirational, and I think
Oh, thank
more
you.
people could take a leaf out of your book, the world would be a much nicer place. I really do. So thank you, and
Yeah.
keep up the good work. And I look forward to hearing more about your legal angels. Your
Find me a plan. Let's see what direction it takes.
yeah, but I look forward to hearing more about that. And keep up the amazing work. I just think it's phenomenal, and
Oh, thank you.
I just hope lots of people listen to this and take a leaf out of your book, that we should all be helping each other and being a community and not spending all our times absorbed in our phones,
Yeah. Social media is great, but it's also a distraction from your actual life, and distractions are not going to lead to positive results. They're just a distraction, and that's all they are.
Amazing. And on that note, lovely, Shazia, I
Thank
think we'll
you.
wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so grateful. And I will make sure that all of the details that you've shared are in the show notes. So if anybody needs to contact you, they absolutely can.
Thank you so much, Fran. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.